What's up, Menace soldiers? I'm the Alliance. Welcome back to another video. Today we'll be doing the top 5 worst Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. If you have any suggestions for next week's movie, let me know in the comments below, and if I use it, I'll give you a shout out. And to find more of my top 5 best and worst videos, make sure to check the link in the description below. But with that said, let's begin. At number 5, we have the lack of a main character. In stories, your main character is one of, if not the most important element to your narrative. Through the main character, we experience the world and the magic that surrounds it. So yes, it's important to have a good main character the viewer can follow. For if your main character is a crappy character, chances are your story may become crappy as well and therefore is a failure. But the Phantom Menace doesn't have to worry about having a crappy main character because it doesn't really have one. I mean, we have main-ish characters, but there really is no main character. You'd think it would be ObiWan considering he's a massive character in the franchise, but Kenobi really isn't the main character considering Obi-Wan is sidelined for a good portion of the film. But we'll get to more on Obi-Wan later. So I guess if any of these characters would be considered the main character, it would probably be Qui-Gon Jinn. But still, even then, it's odd to introduce a character as the main character to the beginning of a trilogy that he's planned to be killed off in the first film. So instead of really fleshing out a young Obi-Wan's character, Qui-Gon, a character who doesn't even make it past the first film, gets more character development than a character who is our main character in the next 2 films. Now, I'm not hating on Qui-Gon. Like I stated in previous videos, Qui-Gon is my favorite character out of the entire Star Wars franchise. But I just wish that the film's main protagonist was Obi-Wan so he could be more fleshed out. Moving on to number 4, why do you keep forgetting about Obi-Wan? Now, speaking of Obi-Wan, why was Obi-Wan so underused in this film? The prequels are Obi-Wan's trilogy, so why was the first chapter of this trilogy so devoid of him? Now, before I get too far, let me explain what I mean when I say Obi-Wan's trilogy. The way I view the Star Wars saga, or at least episodes 1 through 6, is one big story divided into 2 separate stories. Episodes 1 through 3 are Obi-Wan's story, and episodes 4 through 6 are Luke's story. And the overarching story that contains them both belongs to Anakin/Vader. So while Obi-Wan and Luke have their own trilogies, the saga itself belongs to Anakin/Vader. So with that explained, it makes you wonder why Obi-Wan was so underutilized in this film. It actually almost feels like sometimes the story just kind of tiptoes around Obi-Wan and just tries to not use him, when in reality the story should have been embracing him. So while the following films did better to develop his character, this film kind of dropped the ball. At number 3, we have the planet of Naboo Cares. Get it? Like, Naboo, Nahu, Nahu Cares. It's a funny joke. I'll see myself out. So one thing that always bothered me about this film that not many other people like to talk about is how big a deal Naboo is to the film, but no one really cares about it. I mean, think about it. First, Palpatine's ascension is due to the trade blockades on Naboo. Second, we spend a good chunk of the film on the planet, and third, the entire climax of the film takes place on the planet or in its atmosphere. So answer me this, why don't we care about it and its people? I mean, it's a beautiful planet, and if I were to choose a planet to live on, I would definitely choose Naboo. But considering that the majority of the Phantom Menace centers around Naboo, by the end of the film we should be cheering on our Gungans and Theed soldiers to gain victory. But instead, we're just kind of left saying, I guess I want the good guys to win, but I don't really care. A fix for this is to let us see more of Naboo and its people. Let us see and experience what we're fighting for later on in the story. Give us some emotional attachment to these lesser Naboo characters. Let us fall in love with Naboo and its people before we have to fight for it. Now, like I said, I may be the only person with this gripe, but I think it's definitely something that could have been improved upon. At number 2, we have too much politics. So here's the thing about the politics in The Phantom Menace. I appreciate the fact that the politics are there at least. It adds a sense of realism to the universe that we haven't really seen before. Now with that said, while I do appreciate the politics, I do believe there was a little too much of an over-reliance on them. Now I hate using this example, for Star Wars is not just for kids like people would claim, but the excessiveness of the politics in this film really took me out of the film when I was a kid. And not just because it was boring, but because it felt overly complicated. Now don't get me wrong, I love to see Palpatine connive and manipulate himself to the top, but it just took up too much screen time, so instead of receiving more action, character development, or just story in general, the film slows down to explain what's going on in the politics realm of the galaxy, and it just kind of makes the film feel slow and weirdly paced. So like I said, while I appreciate the politics, I strongly believe that its screen time could have been decreased. And at number 1, we have Jar Jar. Just kidding, he's the perfect character. On to the actual number 1. We have Darth Maul, aka the Boba Fett of the prequels.
Whoa, this new Sith looks awesome. He legit looks like the devil. Like, it almost seems like his appearance is supposed to symbolize the personification of evil itself. I cannot wait to see this guy terrorize our heroes throughout the rest of the trilogy. Wait. He's dead? What?
Darth Maul could have been a very intriguing and menacing villain, but unfortunately, they Boba Fetted him. He's sidelined for most of the movie and says about 10 words altogether, so while he looks really awesome, he really doesn't do anything at all. And so, his character is kind of pointless. Now I understand that Maul was initially created because Qui-Gon needed to die, and Obi-Wan needed to be the hero. But the idea of creating a character with the sole purpose of killing them off when they have so much potential, that kind of gets to me. And maybe that's just my writer's side talking because, I'm a writer and I don't like to do that with characters at all. I never create a character just to essentially just kill them off. I like to make a character who has more meaning, and unfortunately Maul does not. Now the Clone Wars TV show had effectively not only saved Maul's life, but they also saved the character of Maul's character. So while we lost Maul in the movie, it was good to see him at least come back in some shape or form. But still, could have been done better in this film. But that has been Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, top 5 worst. So do you agree with my list? Do you not agree with my list? What are your top 5 worst things about The Phantom Menace? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any cool ideas for a future movie to cover in this series, let me know in the comments below as well. And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn notifications for more. But that's it for now, guys. I'll catch you later. Peace.